him doing that, I just felt like it was disrespectful to me, to my relationship. It just was, period, the end. But I think I've endured so much disrespect.
They looked like the perfect couple. Justin Bieber, the global superstar who went from YouTube prodigy to chart-dominating legend. Hailey Baldwin, model, it girl, born into Hollywood royalty and raised in front of the Flash. When they got married, people thought it was the fairy tale ending to a long, tangled history, and for a while, it was. But what fans didn't know was what Hailey saw behind the cameras: the exhaustion, the pressure, the people in Justin's ear, and the slow unraveling of the boy she fell in love with, not because of who he was on stage, but because of the parts of him that the world never saw. She tried to warn him, but no one believed her. From the beginning, Justin's life had never been his own. By the time most kids were graduating high school, he was touring the world, signing million-dollar contracts, and being told what to say, what to wear, and how to smile. Fame wasn't something he asked for, it was something that swallowed him whole. And when Hailey came into the picture seriously in 2018, she didn't walk into romance. She walked into a machine of agents, managers, publicists, bodyguards, and press handlers who were used to protecting Justin's brand, not his well-being. Hailey noticed it immediately. She'd grown up around fame. She knew how fake it could be. But what scared her wasn't the red carpets or paparazzi. It was how deep the isolation ran. Justin was surrounded by people, but none of them saw him. They saw the streams, the money, the fan base. But the human, the man who'd suffered with depression, anxiety, and trauma since he was a teenager, they left that part of him behind. Hailey started speaking up. Why was Justin being booked for press when he hadn't slept in days? Why was he committing to another tour when his voice wasn't fully recovered? Why were people more concerned with headlines than his health? But when she asked questions, she wasn't praised, she was shut down. Let us handle it. He's fine. He's just tired. They told her she was being emotional, that she didn't understand the business, that she needed to stop making things difficult. And Justin, he trusted the team. They'd been there since the beginning. But what Hailey saw was different. She saw the panic attacks backstage, the way he'd flinch when a camera shutter clicked too loudly, the way his hands would tremble after high-pressure meetings. She'd lie awake at night while he stared at the ceiling in silence, like something was eating him from the inside out. She tried to be his anchor. She offered therapy, quiet time, boundaries. But Justin's world wasn't built for quiet. It was built for content. And when Hailey stepped in to slow the momentum, the backlash started, not from fans, from inside. One assistant allegedly told someone close to her, "She's too involved. She's trying to control his career." Another reportedly said, "She needs to stay in her lane. She's just the wife."
No matter what I say, it's like, the marriage is ending.
It's an emotional time in my life for sure.
But Hailey didn't want to control Justin. She wanted to protect him. She saw the same industry that had almost destroyed him as a teenager starting to chew at him again. And this time, she knew. If someone didn't pull the brakes, he wasn't going to survive the ride. And that's when she realized, if she kept fighting for him, she might lose him. Because Justin didn't know who to trust anymore. The people who had managed his fame were the same ones convincing him that Hailey was the problem. And slowly, the space between them started to grow. Hailey had married the man, but she was living with the brand. And brands don't care about love, they care about performance. By 2020, the cracks were impossible to hide. Justin started speaking publicly about his mental health, depression, anxiety, chronic illness. He'd show up to interviews with a trembling voice, eyes glassy, posture bent under the weight of something nobody could name. Some fans said it was growth, others said it was burnout. But Hailey, she had seen the storm coming long before the rest of the world did, and she knew exactly who helped build it. Behind the scenes, the people closest to Justin kept pushing. More work, more performances, more headlines. The world was hungry for the new Bieber, a comeback story, a redemption arc. But no one asked if he was ready for that kind of pressure, not even him. Because when you've been conditioned to believe you're only valuable when you're profitable, you stop checking in with your soul. Hailey begged him to rest, to disappear for a while, to let the world spin without him. But his team didn't want that. They wanted momentum. They wanted revenue. They wanted him on stage with a spotlight burning into his face, even if it broke him. And it did break him. She was there when he collapsed on the floor of their hotel suite in Japan. She was there when he stared into his reflection for 45 minutes, whispering that he couldn't recognize himself anymore. She was there when he admitted that sometimes he felt like a puppet in his own life. So Hailey fought. She pushed for more therapy sessions, demanded that certain team members be kept away from him, refused to let him be booked for anything without her seeing the details first. And that's when the war really started. Some insiders say a quiet battle began brewing, not between Justin and Hailey, but between Hailey and the brand. Suddenly, press invites were sent to Justin without her knowledge. Decisions were made behind her back. Close team members stopped including her in planning texts. One person, reportedly close to management, told a source, "Hailey's getting in the way. She needs to remember she's not his manager." But what they didn't understand was that Hailey wasn't trying to manage his image. She was trying to keep him alive. Justin was spiraling. His chronic illness, Ramsay Hunt syndrome, was becoming harder to hide. He'd break down in the middle of rehearsals, cancel appearances without warning. At one point, insiders say he disappeared into their home for nearly a week and barely spoke. And every time Hailey brought up stepping back, taking a break, cutting ties with the people draining him, she was told she was being dramatic, overprotective, controlling. They called her a handler, a gatekeeper, a fame seeker. But the truth was worse. She was right. Justin wasn't okay. And when his face became partially paralyzed in 2022, when he had to cancel shows because his body literally stopped cooperating, the world finally started to ask questions. But it was too late, because Hailey had been warning them for years. She had told them when he couldn't sleep, when his hands shook on the plane, when he cried in the middle of the night because he didn't know how to stop the train he was on. She told them, and no one listened. By the time the world took Hailey seriously, the damage had already been done. Justin's health was failing. The tours were cancelled. The smile that once sold out stadiums now looked fragile, tired, forced. His face, once the most recognizable in music, became a symbol of burnout, a warning sign. But no one asked who had been waving the red flag long before the collapse. It was Hailey. She had whispered it in quiet rooms, begged in texts, screamed in silence. She told everyone he needed rest, that he was being pushed too far, that this was no longer about passion, it was survival. But they ignored her, because it was easier to call her overprotective than admit they were complicit in breaking him. And when it all fell apart, they still pointed fingers at her. She was too involved, too close, too loud, too ambitious, too much of a wife and not enough of a product. But Hailey didn't want Justin to be a brand. She wanted him to be okay. And the truth, she lost pieces of herself trying to make that happen. Now, when you see her smile at the cameras, know this. That smile was earned, fought for, and paid for in private pain. She tried to warn them, and no one believed her, not until it was too late.